Welcome to Slash Forward. In this episode, we're going to attempt to manage our way through a haunting from an evil Mr. Tumnus with the 2009 film Drag Me to Hell. Let's get to it. We open at the Bodega Bay Hotel, where the mistress of the house is sought for help with a young thief who's been hearing voices and having nightly visitations. She tries to realign his chakras with a sage burn, but it doesn't go well, and he finds himself being welcomed into the warm embrace of hell. But it should be pointed out that he never stole again. We then transition to Christine in modern day. We find her on an uphill climb, crushing it at work, making dreams come true, and gunning for that assistant manager position. She's in direct competition with Stu, an aggressive go-getter, also known as an asshole. She spends lunch with her boo, Clay, who just achieved his doctorate in psychology and is played by Justin Long. Remember Justin, guys? Anyway, his mom's a bitch, and openly attempts to set him up with a more socially advantageous mate. Given this, Christine decides it's time to show she's got the same balls as any man, and sticks it hard to her next customer, a filthy cur looking for an extension on her mortgage.
Won't you try?
Nah, fam, I'm trying to get my life straight. She gives her the bad news and then is graced with the worst possible outcome, shaming Mrs. Ganush in the process. This leads to a startling and brutal confrontation in the parking garage, characterized by a stapler assault, excessive chin gumming, and is capped off with a classic button curse. Clay tries to reassure her later, but Christine has a distinct sense her life is now haunted, so she goes in for a psychic reading. Here they meet Ram, their spiritual guide. After a little intellectual dick-wagging,
Freud said destiny was not an act of fate, but rather something created by our subconscious to control our conscious choices.
Get over it, Clay. Psychology isn't even a hard science. Things get spooktastic, and Ram declares her cursed by a dark spirit. Sure enough, that night while baking, an evil wind passes through the house, and light and shadow dance upon the wall, evoking a sinister silhouette that ends up knocking her down. She eventually comes to accept the doctor's analysis that this event represents a re-experienced trauma from her earlier attack. Despite all of this trauma, she's back at work the next day like a true American hero, although she's unable to concentrate on productivity due to some disturbing visions, and an actual physical manifestation that probably should have gotten the branch at least temporarily closed down. She attempts to go to Mrs. Ganush's residence to make everything alright, but is unable, because Mrs. Ganush is dead. She finds herself in the middle of a gypsy wake, where she's once again accosted by the deceased. She consults with Ram, who has identified her tormentor as Lamia, a cursed goat demon who terrifies its victims for several days before taking their soul to hell. She could possibly placate the demon with a blood sacrifice.
I'm a vegetarian.
But not a vegan. A pretty significant daytime spook makes sacrifice look very appealing. For some reason, she opts to go domestic rather than livestock, and kills her kitty like an absolute savage. Allowing herself the luxury of optimism, she's excited to meet Clay's parents at their home for dinner, dressed to kill and offering them a taste of her peasant cake. The dinner unfolds like a job interview, but she nails it, lightening the mood. But that cloven-hoofed bastard rejected her offering and starts messing about, resulting in her impolitely coughing up a fly and exhibiting other disturbing behavior. She's upset with Ram, but there are no guarantees when dealing with demons. He offers her outside consultation at the price of $10,000. She goes to pawn her belongings, not realizing the trade-in rate for DVD players is poor. To keep things exciting, she suffers a spiritual attack in her shed, where she luckily has a full Wile E. Coyote setup ready to go. And they laughed when you claimed hanging an anvil was a good idea. Well, who's laughing now? She only scrapes together $3,800, but Clay comes in last minute to reveal he paid Ram the fee because he knows when his lady's in need. Somehow? And she lovingly stares at him with dead eyes. They arrive at Bodega Bay to find the mistress from the opening looking to fulfill her lifelong quest of increasing her Lamia win rate to 50%.
To summon it, I will need your help.
And your money, apparently. So they drag in a goat, Natch, set the lights, and get down to business. They begin the incantations, and Christine is instructed to welcome the darkness into her soul. They're first spooked on by some spirits who like to loiter near the door between worlds. But these losers are easily cast off, and then Lamia shows up, and the medium becomes his host. They begin a negotiation over the matter of her soul, and, with quick thinking, she transfers Lamia to the goat. However, the manservant fails in his one task, taking over hosting duties instead. Lamia takes a little joyride in his new body, but then Sean Sandino wakes up and uses the power of her claw hand to banish Lamia to the spirit realm, before keeling over, her life's work now complete. Ram then regretfully informs Christine that all she actually did was cast Lamia out of the host. She didn't reverse the curse since the goat wasn't properly slaughtered. Now in dire straits, he gives her the option of transferring the curse to someone else. After a near miss with a senior citizen on the way home, she scrambles to find her envelope and decide who to bless with this curse. She confirms with Ram that the rules appear to allow transfer to a dead person, since the soul is still intact. So, after a tremendous tremendous effort, she makes a whole thing of cramming the button down the throat of Mrs. Ganish's corpse. Things are now looking up for old Christine. She got the promotion, got a new coat, and she and Clay are riding a train. Also, he's excited to show her that he found her old button on the floorboard of his car. She's so shook by this that she falls into the tracks and is saved from the speeding train by the demons dragging her to hell. Sam, you stinker! And that was Drag Me to Hell, a well-regarded return to form for Raimi, trying to purge himself of Spider-Man 3's stank. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love for you to become a part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.